yesterday, Samach Gimel Amid Beis. I think we'll just start. Let's start from the beginning of the story here. We'll start again from Samach Gimel Amid Aleph, 63a on the bottom. The Gemara that will start, let me tell you where it is, Amr of Safra.
All right.
We're going to start from about 12 lines up from the bottom of the page.
By me, it's Keta Dalet.
Okay. So it's Amar Rav Safra Ravo Haba Mishtoi. Rav Avo was Rav Safra said, repeated something that Rav Avo mentioned. He was speaking, he was saying, relating this story. Kishayarad Chanina ben Achi Rabbi Yeshua, when Chanina, the son of the brother of Rabbi Yeshua, went down Lagoila to Golus. So this rabbi went at some point from Eretz Yisrael to Bavel. So when he did that, Haya Ma'aber Shanim v'Kaveach Hadoshim b'Chutz La'aretz. He was doing Iber Shana, he was doing a leap year, adding the leap years, and he was establishing the months in Chutz La'aretz, outside of Israel. And Shigru Acharov Shnei Talmidei Chachamim. So they sent after him two big scholars, Rabbi Yossi ben Kippar. One of them's name was Rabbi Yossi, the son of Kippar, and the other one was Ben Benoi Shal Zachariah ben Kavuto. Well, the other one was a grandson of Zachariah ben Kavuto, who used to be in the Beis Hamikdash, which we'll soon see what he did over there in the Beis Hamikdash. And they sent these two rabbis after Chanina. Interestingly, later on, it seems to use the word Hananya, so it's a little unclear if this is Chanina or Hananya. But basically, he went down from Eretz Yisrael to Bavel, and now the rabbis in Eretz Yisrael, they sent two big scholars. Even Shara Oisam, when Chanina saw these two big scholars, Amar Lahem, he said to them, Lama Basim, what do you come here for? What are you people doing here? What do I deserve this honor?
Rabbi.
Yes.
I'm wondering about Rabbi Yossi's father's name, Kefar.
Yeah.
If it's like something with denying Hashem, Kefar.
Well, that's a good question, but
nobody mentions that. Nobody mentions that in the commentaries.
I didn't see anything about that. You're right that he's not the most famous rabbi in the Talmud. I mean, we don't normally hear his name, but Rabbi Yossi ben Kippar, I'll take a look if they say anything, if they bring down anything about his name.
In Steinsaltz, it's pronounces his name Kefar.
Kefar, right. I mean, it's often subject to whoever writes the vowels decides how to pronounce it, because this is a name. Could be pronounced Kipar, Kefar, Kefar.
Kifer.
Yeah, he doesn't say anything here.
Kifer is the bad one.
Well, anyway, whatever. It doesn't really say. I wouldn't jump to any conclusions. But so these two rabbis, they were sent to basically tell Rabbi Chanina to stop. Their interest, their goal, their mission was to get him to stop doing what he's doing outside of Israel. And so they went there, and he saw them. He tells them, Chanina tells them, he says, what are you people doing here? So Amrulay, Lamay Torah Banu, he came to learn Torah, to study Torah. He was all like flattered. So Hichriz Aleim. So he announced about them. Anashim Halalu Gedolei Hadore. These people, they are the greatest of the nation. Vaviseyem Shimshu Beis Hamikdash. Their fathers served in the Beis Hamikdash. Kos Shashanino, like what we learned, and there's a Mishnah that mentions Zechariah ben Kevutel Oimer. Zechariah, the son of Kevutel, says, "Harbe pam krisa lefanav sefer Daniel." Many times I read before the Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur night. I read the Sefer Daniel, and what that means is that Zechariah ben Kevutel was, he was a special person to be able to have that position, to be able to be in the Beis Hamikdash and read for the Kohen Gadol. It must have been a big honor that he was the one who was keeping the Kohen Gadol up in order that the Kohen Gadol didn't fall asleep. And the reason why the Kohen Gadol didn't sleep was we didn't want him to possibly become tamei if he had a wet dream. So therefore, they would stay up all night. And the problem was you get tired. So they would have someone read to him something. If he's not able to learn, they would learn. They would learn with him. And so basically, Zechariah ben Kevutel was one of the people who would many times it says he read before the Kohen Gadol the book of Daniel. And Isaac told us yesterday that the book of Daniel is, being that its majority of it is Aramaic, so maybe that's why specifically read that book, because it was understandable to everyone, because they spoke Aramaic, and maybe that's why that it was the book of Daniel. Now, so this is the story that Reb Chanina is honoring these rabbis, telling them these are the Gedolei Hadar. He's telling the whole people, the whole town, these are the Gedolei Hadar of Eretz Yisrael. They came to learn over here. Okay, so Hischel hu matame ve'matarin. Then he started giving his verdicts, and they started arguing. He would say something's tamei. They said no, it's tar. So who Iser? Vehematirin. He would say something's prohibited. They would permit it. So Hichraz Aleim Anoshim Halalu Shel Shavhe. So he announced that these guys, they're really people of falseness, of they're shav, they're valueless. And shall toyuhem, they're nothing, they're desolate, of desolation, toyu vavayu, right? It's a void and vessel. These people, they're not really significant. Don't mind their verdict. And so they Amrulai, so they told this Rebbe Chanina, they said, Farbonisa, you already built us up, and you told everyone that we are the Gedolei Hadar, the greatest of the nation. Listar, and now you can't. You built us up. You're in the eyes of everyone. Now you can't just destroy us. Listar is to break it up, destroy. You can't break us up, and break up what you built, because people aren't going to believe you. They already heard you say that we're the greatest. And now you're saying that our views are insignificant, and we're nothing. We're like desolation and valueless. So use another word. He says kvar godar. They used another term. Kvar godarta. You already made a fence. Biyat yochel you can't break it. And those people aren't really going to change their mind. So so it's a little late. You sort of messed up. You already gave us this big honor. Now you want to claim that our views are are not valuable? Amar lahem. So he told them, okay, so just tell me what's going on here. What is the reason that I am saying something's tameh, and you people are arguing with me and saying it's tar when I'm paskening? It said clearly that it's tameh, and I'm saying it's also you're being matter, you're permitting it, something that I said is prohibited. Amrulai, so they explained him. They said to him, because you are making the leap years and you are establishing months for Chutz La'aretz outside of Israel, and therefore we are arguing on everything you do. Amar lahem, so he told them, V'haloi Akiva ben Yosef have a ma'aber shana v'kaveh chadashim b'chutz la'aretz. Just put the air conditioner on. Okay, so he says this. So they told him the reason why we are arguing with everything you do is because you are establishing the new month, the leap years, and establishing the months in Chutz La'aretz outside of Israel. And now he answered them back, Amar lahem, and he told them, Akiva ben Yosef hava ma'aber shanim kivei chadashim chutz la'aretz. Rabbi Akiva used to do the same thing. He established the leap years and he established the new months in Chutz La'aretz outside of Israel. Rabbi Akiva. So they said, Amrulai Hanach Rabbi Akiva, leave Rabbi Akiva shalahiniach k'moisai b'Eretz Yisrael. Rabbi Akiva did not leave anyone on his league, in his level, in Eretz Yisrael. So you can't really compare to Rabbi Akiva. So he says that's a individual situation. There was no one in Eretz Yisrael in the league of Rabbi Akiva. So Amar Lahem, so Chanina told them back. He says, I also didn't leave behind me anyone equal in learning in Eretz Yisrael. So I am in the same situation. Amrulai, they said to him, the goats that you left, they turned into rams, Bale, Karnayim, and they have horns. And so therefore, you left young people, they learned Torah, and they became very successful. There is a Gemara that says, Avira shel Eretz Yisrael machkim, the air out of Eretz Yisrael, it causes wisdom. So maybe that's connected to here, that somehow these young rabbis who were much less knowledgeable than Rebbe Chanina, they somehow became even more knowledgeable than him, or at least the same. They became that the rabbis that he left there, the young people, they became extremely knowledgeable. Similar, the Kamaisai, they're at least like Rabbi Chanina, they became very knowledgeable. So maybe because the air of Eretz Yisrael causes wisdom, it caused them to reach the level of Rabbi Chanina faster than he was able to go to reach a higher level. In other words, they caught up to him because they lived in Eretz Yisrael. So therefore, what the Gemara is saying is, there are others in your league, and therefore you should not be the one establishing a leap year and establishing the months, because we have people of your stature in Eretz Yisrael. V'heim shigrunu etzlecha, and they are the ones who sent us to you to tell you this. V'chein amru lanu, and this is what they said. And here they speak with a very strong boldness to them. And they said, L'chu ve'imru lai b'shmeinu, go and tell him in our name, Im shemei amutav, if he follows this knows he listens to what you're saying. Mutav, it's good. Vim lab, if not, we're going to excommunicate him. And he will be excommunicated. And now we turn the page, 63b. Imru and also tell everyone else there. Now you got to tell the people there that they should listen to Rabbi Chanina. Im Shaiman, and if they listen to you, and they agree that they're not going to listen to Rabbi Chanina, mutav, good. V'em lav, and if not, yalu lahar, they should go to one of the mountains and act like Goyim. There's a different religion. If you're not going to follow the halacha from Eretz Yisrael, then go do, be like another, go to a mountain, go up a mountain. Achia yivne mizbeach, let Achia build a mizbeach. Who's Achia? Achia is called a like what they would call a Rosh HaKohol. The term in Rashi is Rosh L'bnei Hagoyla, the exilarch, basically. He was a leader, political leader. And let him build a mizbeach. Achia can build a mizbeach, go to a mountain, have Achia build a mizbeach. Chananya, or Chanina, Yenagain Bekinar, he will play the harp. So if he plays the harp, what does this mean? So Rashi tells us that it must be that he was a Levi, and he is in the base of Mikdash. He would be a musician, and therefore, if you're gonna tell him to go play, in other words, they're speaking in a like a sarcastic way and saying, if you're not going to do this, and might as well just go and make your own religion. Go to the mountain and let Chia build a mizbeach over there. You Levi, you play the harp, and v'yichbru kulan, and all of them, let them all deny Hashem. Kaifer, from the word kaifer, they'll deny Hashem. Let them say we don't have any portion in the God of Israel. So if you're not going to follow the law in Eretz Yisrael, then you may as well just start realize you're not following Judaism. You're doing your own religion. You'll go to a mountain and make your religion there. Miyad, immediately go call b'bechia. They all they cried in with weeping and amru, and they said, Chas v'shalom, yesh lanu chelek b'lefei Yisrael. We do have a portion, Chas v'shalom. We would never think of doing such a thing. We want to follow the proper law, and we'll follow what you say. So the Gemara asks, so why was it so bad what Rabbi Chanina was doing? What was so bad about it? So he says, the Gemara says, says from Tzion Torah will come out, and the word of Hashem will come from Yerushalayim. And even after the Beis Hamikdash is destroyed, Mitzion Teitei Torah, everything comes from Tzion. That's where the Torah comes. That's where it's supposed to be. These things are supposed to be done, calculating the months and so on, the New Year's, the leap years, excuse me. So it's supposed to be established in Eretz Yisrael in Yerushalayim. Now the Gemara says, "Bishlai mahu metaher v'hemetamin l'chumra." The Gemara now asks a question. It's understood. It's good if we say that this Rabbi Chanina was maybe metaher. He said something's permissible, it's tahar, it's pure, and they said it's tameh, it's impure. fine. That's okay. That would be acceptable, because you could say maybe they were being extra stringent, extra careful. But in the case where he said something is tamei, how could they have then just argued with him and said, no, it's tar, when you're not allowed to do that? But Tanya chacham shetimein tar. Someone else said it's aser, tamei, it's impure. You can't just argue and say, oh, I'm another rabbi, I'm going to say that it's pure. That's there's an issue with doing that. There are two issues, really. The commentaries give two reasons for this law. One reason is that you can't disgrace the honor of your friend. If he said it's tamei, you cannot go and be matir it. If he said something is mutter, you could say maybe that it's aser, but that would be an act of stringency, maybe. But to go and permit something that your friend prohibited, it would be a dishonor to be a major dishonor to your friend, to the other rabbi. Now, the other thing is, the other reason that's mentioned is that when you ask a Rav if something's permissible or prohibited, if he says it's prohibited, what ends up happening is you are prohibited from that item almost like a neder, almost like a vow. Shavia alei chaticha de isura. You have established it as something that's prohibited because you asked the Rav. The Rav said it's not allowed. That means you gave the Rav the right to tell you if it's permissible or not permissible. So once he prohibited it on you, it becomes like you've accepted it on yourself, almost like a vow that this is prohibited because you accepted that Rav. You asked him. So once you accepted it from that Rav, you can't go and ask another Rav to and try to find some heter, because you already accepted it on yourself as something that that is prohibited. So the Gemara is asking, how could it be that these rabbis permitted things that the main rabbi prohibited? He said it's prohibited, it's aser. How could you go and permit it? It's a famous rule. You can't do that. So the Gemara answered, because savri kihechi delay nigru basrei. They held, in order that people will not be pulled after him, and they therefore specifically contradicted his rulings. And the point is that it was basically because it was a very important matter to make sure he stops making leap years and establishing the new months. So they did that in order people wouldn't follow him, and therefore they did this. So that they went against what normally you would say is not allowed to go to permit something that your friend prohibits. But here they had no choice, so to speak. They had an obligation that they didn't want people to follow it. Yes, David.
Yeah, it's not only a thing of like insulting the rabbi, but all the people that listened to him when he said something is not kosher, and they said, oh yeah, it's kosher. So as a result of that, it's not like a private battle between these two groups. It's that they're allowing Jews to eat something which the rabbi ruled is not kosher, and these guys came along and said, "Oh yeah, it's kosher." So the result of that is we're not worried about the rabbi's honor. We're worried about all the Jews that listened to this rabbi and didn't eat something, and then these guys came along and said, "Oh yeah, you can eat something. You can eat it now." So as a result of that, many people would have eaten not kosher food, possibly, because they listened to these two rabbis from Eretz Yisrael.
So you're asking a question: is it possible that these rabbis might have caused sins through what they did?
Right.
And if they permitted something that's prohibited, this could have had a major effect. So the commentaries do deal with that, and they explain that it must be dealing with cases where there was lenient views and more strict views, and they specifically always chose the more lenient view. So they didn't permit things that are 100% prohibited. They permitted things that there are different ways of looking at it, and there are views that say it's permissible. And so they chose the lenient views in whatever the cases that came up then. They were always true. Rabbi Hanina followed one way, they followed the opposite way. And by doing that, they made it clear what their goal was. That he's better stop. He should realize that the rabbis in Eretz Yisrael are knowledgeable now, and he has no right to make leap years or to establish the new months. So your question is a good question. It could have led to, it could lead to, mistaken halacha. But the answer is that what they always chose the cases that they express themselves that something is permissible were cases where there are views that it's allowed. So good question. Okay. So the Gemara now continues with the Brisa. And the Brisa talks about the Kerem B'Yavne. And Kerem B'Yavne really refers to the Beis Medrash in Yavne. It's called Kerem. Kerem means a vineyard. And the reason why it's referred to as a Beis Medrash is because Rashi tells us they would sit in rows, just like a vineyard. It's planted in different rows. And it looks similar to a vineyard. A Beis Medrash looks like a vineyard. So it's called a Kerem B'Yavne. So when the Nichnasu, Rabbi Seinu, the Kerem B'Yavne, when our sages entered the vineyard in Yavne, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Nechemia, Rabbi Eliezer, Benoi, Shel Rabbi Yossi Aglili, Paschu Kulam B'Chvayt Asanya. So there were a number of rabbis that they gave little speech. They gave some speeches here, and they wanted to speak in the covered, the honor of the hosts. Very often, you start off a drasha, you go to a sheva brachas or something. You peischen b'chvayt asanya. That's a Hebrew term you might hear. Peischen b'chvayt asanya. What does that term mean? Well, I'll start off with the respects for the host. And you say, oh, we want to thank the host for being so gracious and kind and opening up their house for us and so on. So that's the Peischen b'chvayt asanya. So they wanted to open their talk with the honor of their hosts. And the Gemara here is bringing this story, that there were these rabbis that when they came to Kerem B'Yavne, when they came to this place in Yavne is in Eretz Yisrael. It's the famous city that was saved. In fact, there's been a yeshiva there in Yavne. I think they even called the yeshiva Kerem B'Yavne, if I'm not mistaken. And it's been there for years, decades. This is the Yavne when the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed. Rabbi Yechon ben Zakkai asked that they should have mercy and leave the Yavne v'chachameha. Yavne and its wise rabbis, you should leave that city. Rabbi Yechon ben Zakkai was given 3 wishes that he chose that one of them was Yavne v'chachameha. You should spare Yavne and its wise men. And so these rabbis came to Yavne. They started out their talks with a grace, honor, respects for the host. V'darshu, when they darshaned, and they darshan. They expounded on the Torah. Pasach Rabbi Yehuda Reish HaMedaber. Rabbi Yehuda was known to be the Reish HaMedaber. He was the chief speaker. Why was he the chief speaker? Because he was known in the Rabbi Yehuda was known in the story of that we all know from Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, where Reb Shimon Bar Yochai needed to hide in the cave. And he hid there for 12 years, then he hid there for another year. Why did he have to hide? Because Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, he spoke negatively about the Romans. Rabbi Yehuda spoke positively about the Romans. Because Rabbi Yehuda spoke positively about the Romans found out. So the Romans wanted to kill Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, so he had to run into hiding because he spoke negatively about them. He says they build beautiful cities all for their own honor, their own glory. He spoke negatively about it. It's all for themselves. They didn't build it for us, for the community. They built it for themselves. So that was Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. Reb Yehuda spoke positively. He says, "Look, it's so nice that the Romans are doing such great things. They're paving the roads and so on." And so he spoke positively. So the Romans were very happy, and they established that he should be the head chief speaker. Whenever there's an event, he's called the Reish HaMedaber. And so Rabbi Yehuda started, because he was the Reish HaMedaber. He's the first of the speakers, B'chol Makom, in all areas. I'm sorry, yeah, but it was in all places. He was the Reish HaMedaber, B'chved Torah v'Darash. So he started. Let me read that line one more time. Pasach Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda opened up. Reish HaMedaber B'chol Makom. He's it's always in all places. He is the top speaker, the first speaker, and he introduced B'chved Torah v'Darash in the honor of Torah. And he expounded